Sara Pantuliano, thank you so much for joining us at Peace Day Live.
It's a pleasure to be here.
So, the first question I'd like to ask you is could you tell us about yourself and your journey?
Sure. I come from a town, the Amalfi Coast in Italy, but I was always interested in the wider world. Studied politics with a focus on the Arab world at university, Arabic, Islam, and that led me to go and do research for my first degree, for my master's, and my PhD in Sudan. And so in Sudan, I saw firsthand what conflict does to people's lives, and decided to work in a field where I could somehow bring some a modest contribution to try and mitigate this impact. So I stayed and worked for the UN in Sudan for a number of years. I put together a response to the Nuba Mountains crisis, which had been going on for many years, had been 13 years of blockade of aid to the Nuba Mountains. The efforts I put together with the UN were able to help broker a ceasefire and then bring some support to the people that were there. And then I worked in the IGAD sponsored negotiations for Sudan that led to the comprehensive peace agreement and that was signed in 2005. And from there I've continued to work at ODI, focusing on many issues related to conflict and peace building, which is a strong sort of passion of mine.
What is the Overseas Development Institute and what's the mission?
So for a start, we are no longer the Overseas Development Institute. We changed our name legally 2 years ago to be only ODI. And that was because we've been on a journey to confront our colonial history. The overseas development has a very strong, colonial undertone. And we really, on a process of decolonization of our work, which is why, we have legally changed the name to ODI. We didn't want to throw the baby away with the bathwater. ODI has strong brand recognition, so we've stayed with the acronym. But ODI is a global affairs think and do tank. We do research, we provide advisory services on all kinds of global challenges that we believe are interrelated and need to be addressed in their complexity. So we have a number of teams that work on economic development, on justice, on climate, on the climate crisis, on development finance and public finance, to look at the tools that we need to address these challenges. We have a strong humanitarian team. We have teams that work on conflict and peace building, and of course on gender, and we do global risk analysis. And all of that is done together to really try and analyze what happens in a country, in a context, together with our partners on the ground, and then try and influence global policy where it matters in multilateral institutions with specific global partners. But we also work a lot in countries. We have fellows that we second to governments in very many countries. We have done that for 60 years. And they are really those who work with our country partners on a daily basis.
Thank you so much. So, Peace Day, the 21st of September, that you're participating in and supporting and helping raise awareness of, and we obviously massively appreciate that, is a day that was unanimously adopted by every member state of the United Nations. It's the only day of peace the world has. On that day, we're seeing extremely large numbers of people participating, and that leads to a decrease in violence because of something called behavioral change, as you know. Humanitarians use the day, UN agencies use the day, schools use the day, communities use this day. How important for you is a day of peace, and what does it all really mean?
So for me, Peace Day is a reminder of the centrality of peace to achieve well-being and prosperity. Conflict destroys lives for generations. It creates cleavages in society. Cleavages that last for decades. It creates trauma that endures for a lifetime. And of course, it creates lasting economic damage. So we need to inspire a movement of people that champion the primacy of peace, a movement that inspires young people, like the urgency to tackle the climate crisis has done. And Peace Day can really be a moment to catalyze these efforts and bring the primacy of peace back to public discourse.
Fantastic. And on a day like this, Sara, do you raise awareness of it? Do you tell your communities and your staff? I mean, I'm sure you must do, but tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, we, depending on the year, we convene events, we write blogs, we try and share some of what we do on this agenda. I chair the seventh advisory group to the UN Secretary General's Peace Building Fund. So also, with my colleagues on the advisory group, we all try in our, sort of little walls to continue to inspire others to try and push for a peaceful world.
How important is it for individuals to take small actions towards the manifestation of a more peaceful and sustainable world?
It's fundamental. Peace is not a big abstract concept. It comes from the actions that we take on a daily basis. We can diffuse tensions, we can help build trust, we can help, facilitate dialogue, and it all starts at a very individual level. And that is, out of lived experience. That's how, in my career, wherever I've been involved in mediations, wherever I've been, involved in, peace processes, it all comes from that individual contribution that really helps change the relation of trust and builds the dialogue between people.
Can I just ask you? I spent quite a bit of time in Sudan. I mean, I've been to 28 African countries, of course, of the 53. And actually Sudan and going down with the Dinka and Marialou and right down into the south was absolutely extraordinary. But having seen a lot of the world and a lot of darkness, I sometimes I struggle to find hope and continue. When you've seen the sorts of things that we've probably both seen. Where does your hope come from, Sara? What inspires you to keep going?
Actually, it's interesting you mentioned Sudan. It is my Sudanese friends. I have deep friendships with many Sudanese people they have, sort of met years ago and lived with and stayed in touch with. And they've always said, in the darkest hours of, the one of the latest iterations of the conflict, not the very current one, but the one that I lived in the 90s and 2000 until the Comprehensive Peace Agreement. They always said, well, if we give up hope, what's left? And so we always have to hope, because that hope pushes us to work for a peaceful world.
If anybody wants to support ODI or they want to find out more about ODI, what do we do?
You come to our website, you sign up to our newsletters, we send regular updates on our activities, you join our events. If you have ideas, you want to share, sort of points of view, you can, or suggestions, ideas for things that we should look at or convene conversations on, you can write to us, but really through engagement on our social media channels or, the newsletter that you can subscribe to on the website, that's the best way to get in touch with us.
Okay, well, we wish you well, Sara, on your journey. Good luck with everything, and happy Peace Day.
Thank you very much, and thank you for this conversation.